I think icebergs are a fabulous metaphor for people and the things we see, the things we don't see. Like this gorgeous picture of the crisp outline of the things we see in the iceberg above the surface. This represents the things that we see other people do, their behaviours, their actions, their skills, the things they make, the things they say. Just like the iceberg, there's a lot happening below the surface, some of which is partially visible and some of which is diving into the deep blue depths, becoming increasingly less visible. The things we do, the actions, the behaviours, the things we make, the things we say can be observed by others. And I'd love to call this our skill set. We often focus on skill sets as things to improve. But the point about this piece is this may not be sufficient for significant change and transfer. As Marcus Buckingham says, we are not the best person to judge these externally facing things like actions, behaviours and skills. Others are, because they more easily see these things. Sometimes these things are subtle, maybe implicit, like how well we listen, and people feel and sense them rather than directly see them. Other times these skills and behaviours are very obvious. Because of this observability, our own development goals are often focused on these visible behaviours, actions and skills. So if that crisp outline and high clarity element of our being, our skill set is above the surface, then the less well-defined, disappearing into the depths area of our being can be labelled as mindset. It's far less obvious to ourselves and it's largely hidden to others. It's often and largely below the water, so to speak. Like an iceberg, there are elements close to the surface, maybe even being visible enough, though murky, to be interpreted by others around us. Emotions show up, for instance, in a detectable way to others, but they sit below the surface. Others may even share common emotional experiences through the agency of empathy, through this visible element that's just below the surface. But there are other things lurking deeper in our minds that are less accessible than emotions. We assume so many things, yet these assumptions are often hidden and veiled from our immediate awareness and consciousness, unless we work specifically to surface them and expose them. Expectations, too, are well below the surface. They may be outlined, but they're not well defined. And these expectations drive often our emotional response to the way things work in the world. Agendas are another element that I like to call out in this sort of subset of three of assumptions, expectations and agenda. And for me, agenda is often about what we're trying to achieve or what we're trying to have the other person do. And it's almost this sense of the degree of investment we have in the outcome. And then we have the really deep, and for most people, subconscious or even unconscious players in our broad disposition, if you like, our beliefs and values. Without some cognitive work to surface and expose these, we often leave them as drivers of the way we are as people without being aware of the deep impact that they have on the layer above, the assumptions, the expectations and the agendas that are in play, and then above that into our emotional responses, which all bleed into the way we present our being, our skill sets, our actions, our behaviours to the rest of the world. So we have this iceberg model then that really layers some of these elements of how we present to the world. Above the surface and at the peak, we've got the aspiration, the goal, what we want to become, the skills we need and the skills we have to reach that goal, and the behaviours that are in fact the small deliverable elements of our skills, the aggregation of our behaviours and indeed our emotions support the skills and completely give others the picture of who we are as people. But sitting under the surface, below even emotions which are partially visible to people, we have assumptions, expectations and agendas that are driving and shaping our mindset, and then beliefs and values that actually drive everything vertically above. So here's the thing, with our incessant focus on goals, skills, behaviours, actions, outcomes, we focus our development on these parts of our makeup, if you like. And yes, we can improve our output, our outcomes, our performance if we focus on skills and behaviour improvement. But these are often incremental in development and incremental in growth. When we focus on the underlying mindset that supports this, we move into a space where we get quantum change, where we get a flip that goes on, where something becomes unlocked. The insight that happens when we discover something is often around the mindset. So what does this say about the way we should approach significant change, not incremental change? If you've identified an area of your work that requires incremental skill set change, fabulous, all well and good. But make sure that sits within the broad landscape of your goal and your direction. And that in fact, before you're doing that, you have addressed the mindset realm of your development. So let's take the opportunity of growing as a leader, regardless of whether you're seeking to become a leader for the first time or whether you're experienced and want to level up the scope, the impact and the range of your leadership. Imagine you have a leader wanting to improve their leadership skills with a mindset of, this is about me, I'm about ego, I'm about power, I'm about having a group of people under me, I'm about the optics of leadership and how this looks for me. No matter how this person approaches the development of their skill sets, that development will be limited by the mindset that sits underneath. If that same person goes through a discovery of this is not the way to be, some sort of learning opportunity, some sort of life moment happens where a flip occurs in mindset, a quantum shift occurs, where they understand and see that in fact it's not about them, that leadership is about other people, that leadership is service, not power. This mindset shift that happens under the surface and is largely, if not completely, invisible to others, translates into limitless growth of the skill set because of that quantum shift underneath. So where does mindset trump over skill set? Where your work lives in the world of complexity, not in the simple or the complicated, but in the complex, to call out the Sinafa model. Where there is complexity, you need the right mindset before you can develop your skill set. And that mindset may itself become a series of quantum shifts over time that support the more incremental, day-to-day, step-by-step change that occurs in the obvious and visible skill set changes that you have above. What quantum shifts have you been through that you can add that have had this same impact of significant ceiling lift in your skill set development? I'd love to know.